Picture this. You're strapped into a 2-ton metal box, just idling in total gridlock.
Right, the classic morning commute.
Exactly. You're drumming your fingers on the steering wheel, you're paying a massive premium for gas, insurance, and parking just to move precisely nowhere.
Yeah, paying for the privilege of sitting
Well,
still.
right. And while you're sitting there, someone completely bypasses you, totally stress-free. So welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to figure out why the most ridiculed, underestimated vehicle on the road might actually be a masterclass in urban efficiency.
It really is.
We are, of course, talking about the scooter. So drawing from our source material today, ranging from folding electric kick scooters to like your classic 125cc Vespa, we're going to explore why this little machine could radically change the way you interact with your city.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the massive cultural perception gap we have to cross before we can even talk about the engineering.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we are dealing with a vehicle that an entire hemisphere basically uses as its default mode of transportation. Yet, in the West, it is systematically ignored.
It's just totally written off.
Exactly. So we're going to break down the actual physics of navigating a city, the hidden economics of urban space, and the profound psychological difference between merely enduring your commute and actually living it.
Okay, let's unpack this cultural divide because, let's be honest, the scooter has a severe image problem in the Western world.
Oh, yeah. It really does.
When people hear the word scooter, they tend to picture one of two things, right? It's either like a plastic toy meant for a small child, or it's a nervous tourist wobbling over cobblestones on their European vacation.
Right, the stereotypical rental scooter.
Yeah, it just gets written off completely. It's like we equate success, adulthood, and seriousness entirely with car ownership.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Or, if we do look at two-wheeled vehicles, there's this expectation of the raw, growling power of a heavy motorcycle. It's like high school cafeteria dynamics.
Wait, how do you mean?
Well, everyone wants to sit at the cool kids table, right? So you have the status signaling SUV, or the macho motorcycle, and the highly practical scooter is just left sitting alone.
Ah, I see. Yeah, the underlying dynamic is that Western transportation often prioritizes the theater of power over the reality of efficient motion.
The theater of power. I like that.
Right, because we buy vehicles to signal dominance, capacity, and status. A massive SUV projects safety and rugged individualism, even if, it's only ever used to pick up dry cleaning.
Right. The most off-roading it does is a speed bump at the mall.
Exactly. And a heavy cruiser motorcycle projects a very specific type of rugged masculinity. But the scooter, it doesn't play that game.
No, it really doesn't.
It strips away the ego. And because it doesn't participate in that theater of power, it gets heavily mocked. The sources mention a whole subculture of motorcycle purists who relentlessly tease scooter riders, basically dismissing them as not riding real bikes.
Yeah, it's the classic man card critique. They get rejected on aesthetic grounds because they just don't look aggressive enough.
Precisely.
But if you step outside of that Western mindset and look at major Asian hubs...
Right, like Taipei or Jakarta.
Yeah, Jakarta, Ho Chi Minh City, that entire theater of power just evaporates.
It has to. The density of those cities makes the theater of power impossible to maintain.
You just don't have the space for the ego.
Exactly. When you have 10 million people moving through ancient, narrow street grids, pragmatism simply has to defeat image consciousness.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In those environments, the scooter isn't a compromise, and it's definitely not a toy. It is the dominant, undisputed master of urban mobility. It's the default tool because the geometry of the city demands it.
And it really makes you ask yourself as a listener, are you prioritizing the theater of power over the reality of efficient motion?
It's a tough question to ask yourself.
It really is. But, once we strip away that ego and look at the actual math and physics of moving through a city, the scooter's advantages become kind of impossible to ignore.
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the spatial and energetic reality of a traditional car, the modern commute is an exercise in absurd inefficiency.
It's absurd inefficiency. It really is when you think about it.
It is. You are taking a 2,000-kilogram metal box and using it to transport a single 80-kilogram human.
Just a massive waste of energy.
Right. You are moving a literal mountain of steel just to move one person across town. The kinetic energy wasted just to accelerate the weight of the vehicle itself is staggering.
So here's where it gets really interesting looking at the financial breakdown from the sources. Let's talk about engine size. When we say a 125cc scooter, what does that actually mean?
So cc stands for cubic centimeters. It is the total volume of the engine cylinders.
Right, the space where the air and fuel mix.
Exactly, where they mix and explode to create power. So for context, a typical mid-sized car might have a 2,000 cc engine.
Okay, so 2,000 versus 125.
Right. A 125cc scooter engine is incredibly small. The internal displacement is roughly the volume of a small yogurt cup.
A yogurt cup.
Yeah.
A yogurt cup powering you down the road.
Exactly. But because the vehicle itself only weighs around, say, 100 to 130 kilograms, that tiny yogurt cup of combustion is more than enough to accelerate a rider up to 50 or 55 miles per hour.
Which easily keeps pace with any urban traffic.
Right. And the result of that ratio is incredible fuel economy. A standard compact car might get 30 to 40 miles per gallon, right?
Oh, on a good day, yeah.
But a 125cc scooter easily achieves 100 to 120 miles per gallon. And standing electric scooters have infinitely better economy and discharge from a standard wall outlet.
Okay, but let me push back on this a bit.
Oh, sure.
I can imagine someone listening and thinking, okay, sure, I save on gas, but I drive a used compact car that is completely paid off. Gas is a known expense.
Right.
Are the financial savings of a scooter really that life-changing compared to just keeping my economical little car?
Well, the fuel is only a fraction of the cost. The massive hidden cost of urban driving is what we call the parking tax.
The parking tax.
Yeah, and that tax is levied in three ways. First, you have the literal financial cost of paying for a parking garage or a meter.
Which adds up fast.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Second, there is the time tax. The minutes spent endlessly circling the block looking for a spot.
The worst.
And third, there's the cognitive tax.
Yes. The cognitive tax of parking is so real. Just the low-level dread of navigating a crowded downtown grid.
Exactly. The underlying anxiety of wondering if you'll find a spot, worrying if you'll get a ticket, and the sheer logistical friction of having to walk 4 blocks from where you finally parked to your actual destination.
Which is where the scooter just completely changes the game.
Right, because a motorized scooter bypasses the parking tax almost entirely. A standard car requires a parking space of about 160 square feet.
Wow.
A scooter requires a fraction of that. You can tuck it into a sliver of space right outside your destination, often for free.
And if we look at the folding e-scooters, it's even better.
Oh, yeah. For folding electric scooters, the parking tax goes to 0. You don't park it at all. You fold it up and put it right under your desk.
Yeah.
You completely remove the logistical friction of stopping from your life.
Okay, so the math and the spatial arguments are undeniably on the scooter side. But we've established that they save money and space, but how do they actually feel to ride?
It's a completely different experience.
Because the sources reveal a massive difference in the physical and mental demands placed on the rider compared to cars or even motorcycles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, urban planners talk a lot about last-mile friction.
Right, the gap between the transit stop and your actual destination.
Exactly. You take the train, but that last kilometer to the office is a tedious 20-minute walk. A standing e-scooter turns that into a seamless 5-minute breeze.
It really does.
But for the motorized sit-down scooters, the magic word in the sources is flickability. They can filter right through the congestion that traps cars in their lanes.
And that flickability is a direct result of the physics and geometry of the scooter.
How so?
Well, traditional motorcycles have large wheels, usually 17 inches or more, and a high center of gravity because the fuel tank sits up high between the rider's knees.
Right.
Scooters use much smaller wheels, typically 10 to 14 inches, and the engine is mounted very low, often directly on the swing arm near the back wheel.
So all the heavy stuff is practically scraping the ground.
Exactly. This drastically lowers the center of gravity. Furthermore, those smaller wheels generate less gyroscopic inertia.
Okay, physics time.
Yeah, just briefly. In physics, a spinning wheel wants to stay upright and keep moving in a straight line.
Right.
The larger and heavier the wheel, the more physical force it takes to disrupt that inertia and make the vehicle lean into a turn. Because scooter wheels are small and light, the gyroscopic resistance is minimal.
So it takes almost zero physical effort to change direction quickly.
Exactly. That is why they feel so agile, so flickable in tight city traffic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's like you literally just point your eyes where you want to go, and the machine darts into that gap.
It really is that intuitive.
And a huge part of that seamless feeling is the transmission. If driving a manual motorcycle in heavy traffic is like trying to pat your head and rub your belly while doing math.
That is a very accurate description, honestly.
Yay. You're managing a heavy clutch lever with your left hand, rolling the throttle with your right hand, and shifting gears with your left foot. It takes up a lot of mental processing power.
Riding a scooter is just pointing.
Yes, the mechanical simplicity of the scooter changes that dynamic entirely. Most modern gas scooters use a continuously variable transmission, or a CVT.
Right, so no gears.
Exactly. Unlike a traditional gearbox with fixed metal cogs that you have to shift through, a CVT uses a heavy-duty belt running between two V-shaped pulleys. As the engine speeds up, centrifugal force causes the pulleys to change their width.
It creates an infinite number of gear ratios automatically. Precisely. As you twist the throttle, the belt seamlessly slides up and down the pulleys. There is no clutch. There's no shifting.
It's entirely twist-and-go physics.
Yeah. And on electric scooters with direct hub motors, the mechanical simplicity goes even further. There is no belt, no chain, no transmission at all. Electromagnetic force simply spins the wheel.
So because that mechanical complexity is removed, you experience this massive cognitive unloading. You aren't managing the machine anymore. You're simply navigating the landscape.
Which is huge.
Which leads right into the psychological shift that the sources talk about. Because the scooter removes the stress of shifting gears and the claustrophobia of a car cabin, it unlocks an entirely different mental state for the commuter.
Right, this is the shift from dead time to live time.
Dead time versus live time. I love that concept.
It's a great way to look at it. Sociologists often look at the modern car commute as a liminal space, dead time. It is a sterile, unavoidable gap between being somewhere and being somewhere else.
We just endure it. We numb ourselves by listening to podcasts or just staring blankly ahead.
Exactly. But riding a scooter converts that transit into live time. It becomes a distinct, highly stimulating part of your day.
Because you're fundamentally a passive observer in a car, right? Watching the world through a windshield like a television screen.
Yeah, perfectly isolated.
But on a scooter, the sources really highlight the sensory details. You are in the environment. You feel the physical temperature drop by 5 degrees when you ride under a dense canopy of trees.
You really do notice those microclimates.
You smell the exhaust of a bus, sure, but you also smell the local bakeries or the rain hitting the pavement. You notice architectural details of your own city. When was the last time your car commute felt like a micro-adventure?
Probably never. You are forced to interact with your surroundings. It demands what psychologists call a high quality of attention.
A high quality of attention. But wait, let me challenge that for a second.
Go for it.
If I have to be hyper-aware of aggressive taxis, giant potholes, unpredictable pedestrians, all without the safety cage of a car, doesn't that require way more mental energy? I mean, isn't there something genuinely comforting about just zoning out on autopilot in a car? Doesn't the constant vulnerability of a scooter leave you feeling drained?
It is deeply intuitive to assume that vulnerability and required focus would equal exhaustion. But human psychology works differently when it comes to the concept of flow.
The flow state.
Right. The flow state occurs when a person is fully immersed in an activity where their skill level perfectly matches the challenge at hand. Driving a car in gridlock is understimulating but highly frustrating.
A perfect recipe for stress.
Exactly. Riding a scooter is highly stimulating, but it puts you completely in control of your movement.
So the focus itself is the reward.
Yes. Instead of being draining, the sources indicate this acts as a potent mental health boost. In a world defined by digital distraction, the scooter demands a level of singular mindfulness. You have to be right here, right now.
You literally can't check your inbox.
Right. And planners always measure transit by time, cost, and capacity. They almost never measure joy.
Planners never measure joy. That is so true. But of course, a deep dive requires an objective look. Scooters are not invincible magic carpets, right?
Definitely not.
They aren't a flawless solution for every single person. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What happens when it is absolutely pouring, freezing rain, or when you're sharing the road with hostile, car-centric infrastructure?
Yeah, those are the brutal realities of two-wheeled transit. You are completely exposed to the weather. You have strict limitations on cargo. I mean, you cannot carry a month's worth of groceries.
And you are inherently vulnerable in traffic.
Absolutely. If you live in a city with no bike lanes and highways acting as main streets, a small scooter is dangerous. This raises an important question about how we scale these solutions safely.
Right.
The key is understanding that the scooter isn't one specific vehicle. It is a wide spectrum of mobility, and you have to match the tool to the infrastructure.
It's about picking the right tool for the job.
Precisely. If your goal is micromobility, like getting from the train station to the office, a small, folding electric scooter is perfect.
Sure.
If you are doing general urban commuting across a dense city, The 125cc to 150cc machine is the sweet spot. And if you actually need to commute on the highway, there are 300cc to 500cc maxi
With
scooters.
maxi scooters?
Yeah, they have longer wheelbases, heavier frames to handle wind buffeting, and enough power to safely pass at 75 miles per hour,
Wow, okay.
all while still being automatic and highly efficient.
And we cannot ignore how the electric transformation is quietly rewriting the rules for all of this.
Oh, electric scooters are quietly transforming cities globally.
Ah.
Specifically the personal sit-down models. They're changing urban mobility from the bottom up.
Because of the zero emissions.
Zero emissions, yes, but
Yeah.
also silent operation. An electric hub motor provides instant torque, which means you have immediate acceleration off the line at a traffic light. But they are fundamentally changing the acoustic landscape of the cities that embrace them.
Okay, let's take a step back and look at the whole picture here. We started this journey stuck in a 2-ton metal box, frustrated by gridlock, looking at a vehicle that most of the Western world writes off as a plastic toy.
Right.
But when we actually break down the mechanics, we find a machine with a brilliantly low center of gravity that solves the last mile problem, completely bypasses the parking tax, and operates at a fraction of the cost of a car.
It's hard to argue with the math.
It really is.
Yeah.
It replaces the dead time of commute with the highly engaged live time of a micro-adventure. So what does this all mean?
Well, it brings us back to the roots.
Yeah. It means that the original post-war insight of the Italian Vespa, that idea of offering ordinary people a modest liberation, is completely intact today. Useful freedom doesn't require massive size, it doesn't require exorbitant expense, and it certainly doesn't require status.
Exactly. It challenges the core assumption we've been fed by decades of car culture that more, bigger, and faster is always better. The scooter sits perfectly in the middle. It offers a human-centric scale. It is a vehicle that actually fits the environment of a city rather than constantly trying to dominate it.
And for you listening, it really asks you to look at your own daily transit.
Yeah. Are you paying a massive premium in money, in stress, and in lost time for the isolation of a car?
Dominating the road versus moving fluidly through it. Which leaves us with one final lingering thought to chew on today, building on what the sources say about scooters encouraging minimalism.
Oh, this is a great point.
Because the scooter imposes natural limits on what you can carry, it inherently encourages a more minimalist approach to your day. You take what you need, nothing more.
But you can't just throw everything in the trunk just in case.
Exactly. So if this machine forces you to carry less and be more selective about what you buy, it begs the question. What if the ultimate status symbol of the future isn't how much physical space you can aggressively dominate on the road, but how lightly and intentionally you can move through your own city?
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Does owning less and shedding the armor of a car actually give you more of the world around you?
Something to really think about.
For sure. So next time you are sitting in gridlock, staring at the bumper in front of you, just imagine what it would feel like to twist the throttle, feel the air, and simply glide away. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into our source material today. Stay curious, keep questioning the defaults, and maybe take a fresh look at the two-wheeled vehicles zipping past your window. Until next time.